Hello, everyone, and welcome back to live coverage of Eternal Weekend North America. Riley Knight and Noah Walker. Some good news, some bad news. Bad news first. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to show you the second semi-final here as promised. But the good news is that means that we get to jump straight into the final. No mucking around. We are heading straight to our championship match here. We'll be crowning a legacy champion, and we're going to be doing it before your very eyes as soon as the players are in readiness. Before we head down to our feature match area, however, one more shout out to the sponsors of this event, not only cardtitan.com, where you can head today for a 10% discount, 10% off your order with the coupon code Eternal Weekend 2023. Also applies to GameGenic, sponsoring this event and powering the stream. So thank you very much, GameGenic, for your support. Eternal Weekend 2023, 10% off your order at GameGenic as well. Let's have a look at our bracket and see how we got to this final. We've already seen Jay on Delver get all the way through to the finals, just taking out Sean Savior. And on our backup match there, which unfortunately we weren't able to get to, TK Strachan on 4-color Bean Control took out Cass Lynn. A really valiant effort, such impressive stuff from Cass, making it all the way to the semis with that Cradle deck, that sort of Neo Elves list. But at the end of the day, not enough to take her through to the final. So TK Strachan facing off against Jay Washachowski, 4-color mid-range, Beanstalk Control, whatever you want to call it, versus Grixis Delver. Let's have a look now at our first player here. We have Tyrick TK Strachan, who has done, obviously, an incredible job with a deck that looks extremely sweet here, Noah. Miracles making an appearance, I guess, if you want to put it in those terms. Not only Terminus, but also Triumph of St. Catherine.
I love TK's list. Just like a really, really clean. I'm just gonna keep calling decks 2023 decks, even though Murktide Regent's like a little bit older to Legacy. It really hits me as like a 2023 style creature. Like it's a super pushed, like super impressive power level card, and like that's all of the creatures that TK chose to add to his deck. And then we see these 4 up the beanstalks, 4 ley line binding, just classic like X control decks. So really cool list.
All right, and TK is up against, we've seen this bloke in the feature match area a fair bit already today, Jay Washachowski on Grixis Delver, the reigning champion. He might go for the two-peat here. He might go for the runner North American Legacy champion. Maybe, finally, he's going to overcome that imposter syndrome if he gets there. The players are in readiness. Let's head down to our feature match area for the finals of the Legacy Championship here at Eternal Weekend North America. So good to have your company. You're in the booth with me, Riley Knight, and with my good friend and colleague, Noah Walker. Pleasure to have your company today as we get stuck into, again, the championship match between these two players. Looks like TK is going to be on the play as our top-seeded player here. Mr. Mayhem going to get stuck in and let us know what it's all about with this Beanstalk control deck. Talk us through what we're looking at here, Noah. Some of the key things for viewers to look out for in TK's list.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's another like pretty typical blue-white X control deck that we're seeing right now in this format, whether it be 3 colors, 4 colors, 5. It looks like he's just decided to go a little bit more reserved with closer to like a 4 colors splash. Unlike some of the blue-white X decks, we don't see any copies of T3 Fairy, you know, 3 cost of Fairy, but it's just really standard stuff. You know, you always see your Brainstorms, your Ponders, your Swords to Plowshares, your Force of Wills. The cards of note, I'd say, is like the one of Terminus, the one of Dress Down, 3 copies of Triumph of St. Catherine, and then opting to play 3 copies of Murktide Regent along with these other beanstalks to get a little bit more value.
Go.
All right, both of these players a slower turn 1 here, and TK also not doing anything on turn 2 just yet. Happy to take a much more reactive role, as I imagine his deck is hoping to do. Jay also not committing anything to the board on turn 2, but off the top, it's a miracle. Triumph of St. Catherine, the old 2-mana 5/5 lifelinker. We're going to see Jay. Oh, is this a stifle on the... no, Brainstorm. Okay, a stifle on the Flooded Strand would have meant that TK wouldn't have been able to cast Triumph of St. Catherine. Still an option here if Jay can find the stifle.
I think that's exactly why Jay is firing off his brainstorm. Like, yeah, he has the Scalding Tarn untapped that he can kind of shuffle away some bad cards if he'd like. But if he finds a Stifle here or a Daze, it's incredibly huge tempo gain for him.
But no, it doesn't find it, so the Flooded Strand is going to go and fetch an island of some description here for TK. Nice trop. And we're going to see a 5-5 into play on turn number 2. Not a bad start for the Bean player here.
Triumph is
just a basic.
One.
Just going to get a basic here. But go ahead, sorry. Tell us about this Triumph of St. Catherine.
It's just scary. I mean, there's not much to say. A 5/5 lifelinker for 2 mana when you're playing a deck that wants to reduce your opponent's life to 0 is really scary card.
And then it's got that weird ability, Presidium Protectiva. When Triumph of St. Catherine dies, exile it and the top 6 cards of your library in a face-down pile, shuffle the pile, put it back on top of your library. So you know that Triumph is coming back again pretty soon.
I think we just saw TK miss a land drop this turn, which, if Jay has a Wasteland in his hand like I think he does, is going to mean so much trouble for TK.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think TK did. Oh, ended up getting a Tundra.
And see, this is okay. Last turn, finally, my perfect illustration. He went to go fetch up a basic land, and then you know what he thought? Well, all my other lands are non-basic lands, so I'm just going to get wastelanded off of those. I don't want to be left with just a basic island in play. So he said, I'm going to get a Tundra instead. And that is exactly why these basic lands, it's not that they don't make any sense, it's just that
I think they're not the protection that people think they are, I think is what you're trying to say. It's like they don't give you automatic immunity from Wasteland. You can still get wrecked by a Wasteland even if you're playing basics, I think is what you're trying to say. Let me mansplain for you, Noah.
I think he did a good job at it. And wait, Jay had a Wasteland in his hand, but then opted not to try to waste TK off of a blue source.
Interesting. Instead goes for the Volk. Obviously has some cards that he wants to deploy this turn. Is he able to cast a Murktide Region or something this turn?
No, because he'd need a 7th card in his graveyard for that.
I don't think so.
Wait, it looks like he might be bolting plus Unholy Heating to finish off this Triumph. I can't really see what else he would be doing.
Oh my goodness, how about a second one off the top just like that? My goodness, I mean, this is why you put the card in your deck, so you can draw it, right? But that is brutal here for Jay, who is just going to let it, yeah, okay, sure, you got it. Put in the stack, and it's put on the battlefield. TK, who needs a 3rd land, he says, take 5.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't hate this play
and
from
that was
Jay.
the play that you sort of foresaw there, Noah, the double removal spell to kill the Triumph.
Like it's not bad. It's still good. It still gets the job done. And now he can kind of use that Wasteland to finish off the Tundra. I think I might have just preferred seeing him take 5 for a turn from the Triumph. Like, I know it's not a great spot to be in, but neither is this one where you give TK access to multiple mana sources for a turn.
All right, the second Triumph is going to survive. The first one shuffled back onto the top of the library somewhere. And now Jay may choose to deploy that Wasteland, particularly given that he knows that there is a Triumph of St. Catherine somewhere lurking somewhere in the top couple of cards of TK's library. Goes out for the Savannah.
I'm curious.
And Murktide Region.
Maybe to play around up the Beanstalk. It's just on one mana. TK has these 4 Ponders, 4 Brainstorms, a lot of cards to kind of help him get out of this rut of having no mana and no resources. So
Swords to Plowshares takes care of the Murktide Region. That couldn't be avoided by the Wasteland, given that they were both plains. And in comes the Triumph. TK unable to find that land. He'll be hoping he finds a second land before the second Triumph here. And back to Jay now, who, for 1 mana, is going to cycle away Lorien Revealed. He's not having any issues with his mana, at least. His 5th land now.
Yeah, certainly mana not going to be the issue in this game for Jay. It's going to come down to whether or not he can build up a board that kind of deals well with this Triumph of St. Catherine. Like that really just goes to show the power of TK's list and these triumphs. Like he doesn't need to have lands, any sort of resources whatsoever other than this 5/5 lifelinker, and he's just in just a really commanding position. But that looks like another wasteland pickup from Jay, which is going to be really huge.
Yep. I think he was pretty happy with that one. So TK down to 0 lands, just the Triumph in play. Jay considering what he wants to do, if there's a threat or something that he can commit to the board here.
Okay. Yeah, I want to see TK win this game with no lands in play so bad.
Okay.
All right, gets in for another 5.
29.
Jay down to 14. Did gain quite a significant chunk of life, Noah, from that Swords to Plowshares earlier.
That's exactly.
TK sitting pretty on 29.
I'll just gonna step above Masters.
And Orcish Bowmasters.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm at 28.
Alright, let's see what TK can cook up here. Still no lands for him. Back over to Jay. Brainstorm. An embarrassment of riches for the Delver player. No, nice full grip for him.
Yeah, that is definitely a good aspect of this game for Jay. He's got a lot of resources to work with. One of the biggest issues is just how particularly far ahead. Just attacking for 5 every turn gets TK. Just it being a 5/5 lifelinker, yeah, eventually it's going to kill Jay. He's getting to the point, TK is, where he's gained so much life from Triumph of St. Catherine that eventually he'll just draw lands and be able to play out of the fact that he's been mana screwed for the entire game.
Like TK has the better board for sure. The 5/5 lifelinker is dominating the battlefield in no uncertain terms. But Jay is the one who can cast spells. So I don't know. In the long term, that is going to have more of an impact. You would have thought. So Brainstorm into Lightning Bolt. Just at the dome. All right, and that's to get another card in the bin for the Murktide Regent. Make it huge. And we're going to see a Force of Will on the Murktide Regent.
Ooh, it being a 6/6 is so huge here, though, luckily.
And the Force of Will is Dazed by Jay. Dazed being a obviously terrific card when your opponent has a 0 lands. And is that Underground Sea in hand now for Jay? Yes. Okay. Yeah, but as you say, no, a great observation. 6/6 Dragon means that the Triumph is held at bay. I think there was a force off the top there for Jay.
Yeah, not great. I mean, like this spot, like as bad as it looks for TK possibly, can Jay even attack with the Murktide? Not really, right? You're effectively dealing 1 damage to TK because he can just attack with the Triumph on the way back. So,
yeah, and you're taking 5 yourself as well, so it's definitely not the exchange you want to make.
Exactly. It's like it just goes back to what I was saying about TK just eventually being able to play lands out of a situation like this. Like Jay still isn't really offering enough of a clock for TK to be worried about anything that's going on.
So you think TK is still in a better position here?
I think for sure. I would honestly, I would so far as to say I would be surprised if he didn't win this game.
Interesting. That's really interesting because I was thinking that Jay, before when he was casting those cantrips, those brainstorms and whatever else, was surely going to find the threats and the tools that he needed. Whereas TK is just playing catch up, against the cards like Daze that Jay had. But I don't know. Yep. I'll defer to your opinion here, Mystic Sanctuary.
I mean,
TK, who's finally finding those lands that he needs.
I think that's just like a fair way to look at the game, the way that you were, Riley. It's just when you think about the construction of their decks and how Jay only has 2 really clean answers to trying to think out, or 1, sorry, the one on Holy Heat, and then the one Molten Collapse. But he's already played the one on Holy Heat, so he only has the 1 Molten Collapse left. And then TK's deck just has a lot of Swords to Plowshares, Leyline's Bindings, cards like that. So eventually, like you you gotta
21.
expect TK to draw, you know, some mana sources at some point, and then the sort of cards that he's been sitting on for this whole game are just bangers. Like,
I see your point. Like, heads up, in a vacuum, TK's power level, the average power level of the card in TK's deck is just higher.
exactly.
Yeah, so that's a good way to look at it. Misty Rainforest cracked, so that's going to shuffle away that Triumph that was hanging out in the top of the library, unless TK's already drawn that and didn't reveal it to the Miracle Trigger because he couldn't cast it. So there could be a 5 mana 5/5 in hand. TK.
True.
Delver Trigger. And it's Force of
Will
Will.
draw? Yes. Okay.
Flips over the Delver. And at least this Insectile Aberration can start.
Finding. Stealing your upkeep.
Or maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good pickup for Jay here, having the Delver flip, being able to, you know, stop
So we got 13?
a binding here, start getting a clock in for 8.
Yep.
Now it's looking like he could maybe amass something to turn
3.
the tides a little, but it's tough because he still can't really attack with the Murktide. It's on just permanent blocking duty for the Triumph. But then in the same respect, if TK has a Swords to Plowshares here or something of that effect, then Triumph can just start attacking right away.
2 cards in hand. And I know one of them's a Force.
So what we saw there was the Leyline Binding in the upkeep after the Delver Trigger had resolved. So TK could try to get that binding on the battlefield before Jay drew the Force. However, Jay had another Force in hand, and this means that it was able to remove the first binding from play. The second one, however, is going to resolve. This gets rid of that Murktide on blocks.
attacking.
St. Catherine can get in. And now, Jay, who does have the option to chump block with his little 1/1s, is facing down a 10-point life swing.
Yeah, I mean, Jay's other card in hand, besides the Force of Will, is another Orcish Bowmasters. Right now he's considering playing the Bowmasters, shooting the Triumph, using all 3 of his creatures to block it, which is a fine play, honestly. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have too many good, clean answers to the Triumph, so I don't hate a play like this. But if TK has a plow, you just get blown out.
Instead, a Force of Will, which is going to remove the
You go to 8. I go
Bowmasters
to
from
22.
contention, takes it straight from the stack to the graveyard.
To go.
And so Triumph gets in for another 5. Chomp.
I mean,
Take out to 26, go down to 9. You can see a little shake of the head from Jay there as Noah's prognostication ends up being proven ultimately correct. TK was in the better position, particularly after he started to find more of those lands, those free counter spells that he was stockpiling as well, ended up having a huge impact. Triumph gets in, it's going to be blocked this time. TK gains the life, Jay on 9, TK on 26. Keep track of that as there seems to be a bit of an issue with the life totals at the moment being displayed correctly.
Beanstalk.
And here we are, heading up the beanstalk now. No, Force of Will, hard cast, 5 mana, counter target spell.
So I mean,
Jay.
for Jay,
Sorry, go ahead, Noah.
No, you're fine. I'm searching deep into the depths of my mind to see like what a game looks like here for Jay to win, right? Like he draws like maybe a Yorion Revealed to draw 3, and then like one of those is the Molten Collapse, and then another one is like a Force of Will to stop the Triumph on the way back down. It's like the amount of life that TK has gained is more than enough of an advantage against the way that Jay's deck is constructed.
Right, TK up to 31, Jay down to 4.
Catherine. Go.
And a second Triumph. That was the one that was must have been drawn earlier. So now Jay facing 2 lethal threats on 4 life. Mishra's Bauble has a look at the top of his own deck and sees, I think there's a Molten Collapse.
Too little, too late.
Too little, too late for sure. Facing down 2 5/5 lifelinkers from TK Strachan. There's not much Jay can do to try to get back into this game. Draws the Molten Collapse. I believe the card was. Both of these triumphs are lethal. Don't forget, Jay is on 4 life. So if TK can remove one of these blockers here, Orcish Bowmasters might do it. And we're going to go to game number 2. Jay going down to the might of Triumph of St. Catherine. TK sitting there on 0 lands for half the game, but it wasn't. Even that wasn't enough, Noah. And our 4
That was the weirdest game of Magic I've ever had.
Game away from the North American Eternal Weekend Legacy Championship.
Apparently 2 mana 5/5s are good.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure someone's going to see
well
that,
played
like,
there from TK.
Photos of
Honestly,
my
Riley,
I'm like,
that game goes back to the first couple turns of the game. Jay opting to just try to remove the original Triumph as soon as he could. With the Lightning Bolt in combination with the Unholy Heat, as opposed to using Wasteland. I know hindsight is 2020, but I was already a strong proponent of trying to use that Wasteland there, keep TK down on resources. Jay waiting that one turn to use the Wasteland meant that it gave TK enough time to top deck the second copy of Triumph, have 2 Triumphs in play, and then by the time that he was able to remove that 1 copy of Triumph and kill all his lands, it didn't matter because TK just had another huge threat. So I think that really came down to maybe a little bit misunderstanding of which resource is most important in the moment. Jay kind of valued, hey, I'm gonna need to kill TK eventually. I'm valuing the life total here. But what I think is so vitally important about this Grixis Silver deck is just keeping your opponent off of mana resources.
And that's one of the key things that these Delver decks are able to do. But before we get into that, let's have a chat about this 4-color Beans deck here. You can see it's got all the heavy hitters, right? It's got all the classics from Legacy. It's got the Forces, the Ponders, the Brainstorms, Swords to Plowshares, obviously a very efficient removal spell, joined by Leyline Binding, another really efficient way to keep not just creatures but other problematic permanents off the battlefield. But it's Up the Beanstalk that really is showcasing the strength that a deck like this can garner from a dedicated card advantage engine, Noah. Up the Beanstalk in this deck triggered by a ton of different cards, including those miracles, including Triumph of St. Catherine. We saw how impactful that card was. So I'm really fascinated to see the way that Up the Beanstalk has changed people's philosophy with deck building in Legacy, right? We saw Murderous Cut yesterday, another great way to trigger the beans here. The Triumph of St. Catherine, the Terminus, other excellent ways to make sure you're drawing extra cards off Up the Beanstalk. So another deck that's just doing a lot without paying too much of an opportunity cost, right? Putting Up the Beanstalk in your deck isn't much of a cost to pay because it replaces itself at the worst. And at its best, provides a huge amount of value with these discounted, expensive cards, expensive drops like Murktide Regent, Triumph, Leyline Binding, etc.
Yeah, I totally agree, Riley. I really like the construction of TK's deck. It's a very blue-white focused, like a lot of these 5-color decks, but he literally just has Up the Beanstalk and Orcish Bowmasters as the only non-blue and white cards in the deck. So I think that makes it a little bit harder for him to necessarily get as mana screwed as maybe some of these builds that are a little bit more greedy with their color restrictions and stuff. So I think that is a huge draw to this specific build. And like you were saying, Up the Beanstalk has so much play in this build with the Triumph of St. Catherine's, with the Murktide Regents.
Well, here maybe we get a quick look at what's being sideboarded in, and I think I saw Pernicious Deed, Carpet of Flowers.
Yep.
And was that a blue card?
I think it was Hydroblast.
Yeah, I was going to say it looked like a blast.
Looks like he's not bringing any in though. They must be for some other matchup. Oh wait, no, sorry, he is. That was the pile. I think on the pile on the left is what he's bringing in. Okay, that makes sense because those cards seemed good to me in this matchup, so I was surprised not to see them. But it seems like
so here we're going to get a quick look at what's coming out. Forces of both of will and negation. Dress down.
Yeah, I get that.
And coming in, we definitely saw the Pernicious Deed. We definitely saw the Carpet of Flowers.
Yeah, it looks like the Deeds came in, the Carpet of Flowers came in. I think the 2 Hydroblast came in just as an answer to Pyroblast. And then I think the Leovold also came in just a really good card against Delver. And I love the cards that TK took out. I just really like the way that he's been sideboarding and playing these games. Generally, I think that Force of Will is the sort of card that is only really included in your deck in Legacy because you have to. It's like there are these decks that if you don't have a Force of Will in your opening hand, you're just going to lose the game. Or there's really like close situations where Force of Will can just take over the game. Other than that, when I'm sideboarding with my Delver deck, it's the first card that I reach to take out in the majority of matchups, unless I think that I'm just going to get cheesed really easily or lose the game kind of out of nowhere. Just because spending any 2 of your cards for one of your opponent's cards is not a great place to be. When you know, like I've said so many times over the course of this weekend, Legacy is not a format where you're going to receive very many cards that give you card advantage, just a lot of card selection cards. So card disadvantage is even worse.
And I think you're making a good observation in saying that you kind of have to play Force of Will, because there are some decks that without Force of Will you just can't beat. And it's almost like a pressure valve on the format in that sense. Force of Will seems like a grossly unfair card.
Yeah, I was like,
But what it allows for is a format that isn't completely degenerate, with people just racing to the bottom to play the most disgusting broken linear combo decks they can. Not that those decks don't have a place in Legacy. It's a lot of fun when people are cheesing you out and you have to find ways around it. But Force of Will is like a safety valve, right? It's something that prevents those decks from completely overtaking the format. And as you say, it's such an important game one card, particularly in a larger tournament where you can play against actual anything. You can play against anything at all, and you need that way to make sure that you're not just dead on turn 2 to some weird combo deck that you didn't see coming.
Yeah, totally.
Whenever you're ready.
Alright, let's go.
All right, we're getting into game number 2 here by the looks of things. Our second and potentially last game of this entire tournament. And what a tournament it's been. So excellent to showcase Legacy on the main stage here like this. A format that I know has many, many dedicated fans all around the world. And it all comes down to this for TK. If TK can win this game, then the championship will be his. Jay has to dig deep, find 2 wins on the trot to win 2 tournaments on the trot. Of course, let's remind ourselves, Jay is the reigning champion of the North America Legacy Champs here at Eternal Weekend. So we will see if he can do it again, but certainly he's going to have a hard time of it, having to win 2 back-to-back. Dragon's Rage Channeler the play for the Delver player on turn number 1. TK opening up with a Ponder, so the action starting off a little bit earlier this game, Noah, than last time.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see if you're a J fan, if you're a Delver fan, just want to see him run back the 2-peat or whatever, be the reigning champion again. He needs the early pressure in not just this matchup, just any matchup for his deck to function well. And it being in the form of Dragon's Rage Channeler is absolutely fantastic. It kind of gives him a little bit even more to do, with the Dragon's Rage Channeler triggers. It makes the cantrips that he's casting on the second turn even more impactful. So this is exactly what our champ Jay needs for the 2-peat.
In the midst of resolving a brainstorm here, has yet to put the cards back on top after casting it. Looks like it's going to be Volk, and I didn't see that card. Maybe a Bowmasters?
Yeah, I think you're right, Riley. It seems like he doesn't have any black sources in his hand, so he's kind of, I think, trying to set up a board or a game state where he can cast a spell and maybe mill this Dragon's Rage Channeler mill the Bowmaster with Dragon's Rage Channeler.
Maybe cast a Ponder. Yeah, and there it is. The Bowmasters goes into the bin. We have a look at the top 3, and Jay is going to shuffle away these cards. Not interested in them. And this is another classic. I mean, this is real basic Legacy stuff, but this is another very classic Legacy line that is used with Brainstorm. Because you look at Brainstorm and it's a very powerful cantrip. Great, draw 3 cards, put 2 back, but that by itself, it's not enough. The real power of Brainstorm comes with its conjunction with shuffle effects. And this is obviously something that Legacy diehards will know all about, but for anyone who's a bit newer to Legacy, welcome. By all means, welcome. But Brainstorm, one of the pillars of the format, because what it enables you to do is draw 3 cards, put the 2 worst cards from your hand back on top of your library, and then use a fetch land or a card like Ponder to shuffle them away, which doesn't quite draw you 3 cards, but it's a lot closer to just Brainstorm being Ancestral Recall than you might think.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good shout, Riley. You know, Brainstorm, just looking at the card, like, yeah, you could see why it's possibly powerful. Drawing 3 cards is an excellent thing. But
Spin one way.
just really being able to choose some cards in your hand, get rid of them with a fetch land effect is what makes it one of the best cards in Legacy.
And then
All right, Carpet of Flowers now is the play here for TK Strack, and this is a sweet one for sure, as a Swords to Plowshares takes care of the Dragon Rage Channeler, and now we're going to see a Ponder. Carpet of Flowers said, during your main phase, you may add up to X mana of one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands the target opponent controls. So TK is going to have 2 free mana every turn, and that number is only going to go up as the game continues, because Jay obviously will quite likely play more lands, and each land in Jay's list is an island, apart from the wastelands and the fetches. But you understand my point.
trigger. You got it. I'm gonna graveyard this.
So,
Yeah,
Dragon Rage Channeler, a Brainstorm in after the little 1/1 is hit the battlefield, or it might not be a 1/1 anymore, actually. Look at that graveyard.
So
Yeah, I think it actually got Delirium on Jay's second turn. Wait, did he not? Oh, he just replayed another one. I was like, did he not attack? But yeah, that's another one. But I think this just is a classic case of like TK. You know, like as you were saying earlier, Riley, you need to build your deck with these Delver decks in mind, and I think that is exactly what TK's list is showcasing. Like, yeah, like a lot of these blue-white control decks, like some look more lean, some look less lean. I think his list is actually really clean. Like a lot of really cheap spells, a lot of good removal spells, Orcish Bowmasters to fight against random X1s, Triumphs of St. Catherine to just go over the top. So really clean list. And then I think post-board, the matchup only gets better for him. You know, he gets to take out these Force of Wills and these Force of Negations that don't really matter and just bring in banger cards like Carpet of Flowers. Like, this card is so strong.
you can draw a card.
And we're seeing its strength here. Look at this. Up the Beanstalk, Leyline Binding.
21.
It's going to go after the Dragon Rage Channeler. But Jay has a response. I wonder if this is just wanting to an extra Surveil trigger, or is it going to be something like a Stifle to protect the DRC?
Yeah, I mean, Stifle answering Leyline Binding is super cute. Like, I'm sure that wasn't necessarily one of Jay's thoughts when including Stifle in his deck. You know, Leyline's Binding is becoming more popular in Legacy, so it possibly could have been, but that's just a really cute way to deal with that.
But the thing is, even, you know, it is. It's great. It's good for Jay that the DRC is still there. TK still drew a card off of it. He's not down off of the Leyline Binding because that up the Beanstalk. So even that, this just means that he didn't 0 for 1 his opponent, right? It just meant that he played a card that drew him another card. So this is what up the Beanstalk does. It just keeps those cards coming. It makes sure that no play that you make is really all that devastating, because even in the face of a counter spell or a piece of relevant disruption, you're still not down on cards. It keeps the card economy that your deck needs to keep up with these viciously lean decks that the Legacy format is so full of. You're sitting there with 5 cards in hand every turn. All right, back to TK now. 3 mana. Oh, hello, look at this.
Ooh.
Okay,
Triumph of St. Catherine off the top. Whoa, wee wah wah wah. Wait one moment, please. So,
He's like,
Start with
I'm
the
gonna
mirror.
stifle the trigger. Okay, I have Carpet of Flowers in play. What? Just give me 3 mana. I'm gonna cast. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't even matter. It just
Yeah,
couldn't
that
matter
doesn't-
less.
Sorry, but
that doesn't do a huge amount. Yeah, you're right, because the now,
so carpet
as we head into TK's main phase, yes, he can add mana from the Carpet of Flowers and then just pay 2 mana to put the Triumph of St. Catherine on the stack.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like
So-
still draw a card. Like, yeah, the Stifle was essentially like a huge spell pierce, like a 3 mana spell pierce or something like that
It
for
was
any
a
spell.
reverse Dark Ritual. It was
Yeah,
a
which is
reverse Dark
not
Ritual.
bad. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
horrible. It's just that is how strong these options that TK chose to include in his deck are in this matchup in specific, and just like
Trigger Sanctuary.
in combination with the rest of what he's planning to do. Well, he also gets to put a Source of Plowshares on top of his deck and then draw it from the Beanstalk trigger.
From the
Like-
beanstalk, yeah.
It's just filthy.
Oh, gross, dude. Wow, it's all coming together for TK here. Swords goes back on top, tap 2 lands, play the Triumph of St. Catherine, draw a card with the up the beanstalk. That card is the Swords to Plowshares. It's all coming to TK. Carpet of Flowers doing work here, hey. How much mana has he gained off it already? This will be like 7 mana total?
Yeah, for a 1 mana enchantment. That has to be one of the cards that I have like lost the most to in Legacy. Just my opponent on whatever green deck they're playing. It could be any green deck in the entire history of Legacy, and they just play a turn on Carpet of Flowers against me. It taxes the entirety of the Grixis Delver deck just because of how important, like as you see a Stifle there. Like, yeah, you're stifling fetch lands generally, or like your opponent from progressing their board state, and Carpet of Flowers kind of undoes all of the taxes that the Delver deck is like naturally trying to achieve.
Well, that's right. The Delver deck does play this sort of they're playing a disruptive game in every respect. They disrupt the stack, they disrupt the battlefield, and they also disrupt your mana. And if you just have this card that gives you a huge mana boost every turn, 2, 3, 4 free mana every turn, then all those cards, the Dazes, the Wastelands, they become so much more irrelevant.
Yeah.
All right, Insectile Aberration joins the party. Here's a Ponder. It was a Volk, and I didn't get a good look at the other 2 cards. Is it a Brazen Borrower? We're going to see a shuffle anyway, so it doesn't matter. They go away. Jay's looking for something else here.
I know you have both.
But these live totals, 13 to 24, they're not going to be like this very much longer. That 5/5 is looking huge here, and the Delver doesn't have a chance to race a card like Triumph of St. Catherine.
Yeah, Jay needs something like Brazen Borrower here. That would be good. Molten Collapse would also be decent. Unholy Heat. Some sort of answer to the Triumph. I mean, Molten Collapse would be the best one, because then you could also kill the Carpet Flowers and kind of actually TK from being able to just replay Triumphs. Yeah, the first Triumph St. Catherine, hard to beat. I think TK has another one in his hand, though.
I will name.
And just can cast that for another 2, well, effectively 2 mana, thanks to the Carpet.
And draw a card, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Let's not forget about that. Yes, draw a card as well while we're doing it. All right, 3 mana floating for TK.
Triumph trigger.
Gonna spend it. Yeah, and another Triumph. Oh my goodness. And Jay, you can see he can sense that the door is closing on this game for him here as the first Triumph of St. Catherine gets in. And a 10-point life swing. TK up to 15. Jay down to 19 here. It could be very close to crowning the champion of the Legacy Championships here at Eternal Weekend North America. TK Strachan with this 4-color Beanstalk deck, showing us just what it's capable of. Lightning Bolt.
As respectable as could be. Just Bolt going upstairs. I got nothing in my hand. Who cares? This Bolt's not doing anything else.
Lightning Bolt, go and get another island with Lorien revealed. Just in case TK didn't have enough mana yet from the Carpet Flowers. And Jay now. I don't know what he can do to get himself back into this one.
See what you got it.
Needs to find something very special off the top. Huh?
Miracle.
And he's got nothing. And our champion of the Legacy Championship at Eternal Weekend North America is TK Strachan with Beanstalk Control, a 4-color list showcasing one of the new powerhouses of Legacy. Too good for Modern, and it's showing its strength in one of Magic's oldest formats as well, taking out the entire championship in the hands of this Legacy All-Star. Well done indeed. TK Strachan winning with a big old plate of beans. You love to see it. Noah Walker, we've seen some terrific stuff across the weekend here at the Legacy Champs, but a very fitting conclusion showing off the diversity and the depth, the breadth of this format. A deck that I don't know how many people had on their radar heading into this. I mean, it's essentially, as you say, a blue-white X control list, but one that seemed to be built extremely well to weather the storms thrown at it by this very volatile and dynamic Legacy format.
Yeah, huge congrats to TK. Very clean deck list. very clean play. I love what I saw from him. Like you said, just like yeah, a lot of people were expecting the blue white X strategies, the beanstalk control decks, but I just love the addition of the Murktide regions. It just really I feel like melds the deck into sort of like being able to play kind of this tempo game that these Delver decks have access to. You kind of get it more with these slower blue white X decks now, just based off the fact that they get the addition of these Murktide regions and up the beanstalk for the card advantage, card quality. So really good stuff from TK. Sad, not to see Jay make it with the 2-peat. It's hard for me not to root for the Delver players, but just really good stuff from TK.
Yeah. Yeah, really pleased to see this deck get up and about. This will give Legacy players a lot of homework to do coming away from this, looking at this list, picking it apart, thinking about how either to, beat it or maybe join it. Maybe this is a new direction that people are going to want to take after having seen the power of Up the Beanstalk. Something that by now we all know, it's open secret just how good this card is, but finding new and inventive ways to make the most of it, trigger it, make sure you're drawing those cards. Well done indeed. TK Strachan, the champion, here at the Eternal Weekend in the Legacy Champs. So really terrific to see not just him, but the entire top 8 play their guts out for thousands of dollars in prize money and those sweet promos. And of course, that huge big lightning bolt will be going home with TK as well. You do love to see that. A final thanks to our sponsors, Card Titan, of course, and Game Genic. One final time, I'll remind you, Eternal Weekend 2023, 10% off your order at either one of these retailers. Head over to cardtitan.com. You can head over to Game Genic's website as well. Eternal Weekend 2023, 10% off your order. Show your appreciation and support businesses that are supporting the Legacy format, as well as other Eternal formats like Vintage that you've enjoyed the coverage of all weekend. Thank you so much to them. But that's all she wrote today, sports fans. That is it for coverage of Eternal Weekend in North America. And I want to thank you for joining us throughout this weekend. I want to thank the production staff working behind the team, Jeff, Anurag, the rest of the team who, again, I said this yesterday, you don't see them, you don't see what they're doing to make this broadcast work, but it would not exist without their dedication, their perseverance, and their inventiveness. So thank you so much to them. I want to thank Noah Walker as well, my co-host here, who has been the well, his big, strong shoulders have carried this broadcast because I don't know what I'm talking about at the best of times, and I certainly don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Legacy. So, Noah, thank you so very much, mate. Is there anything you want to say before we close out the show here? It's been a pleasure working with you, and I hope to do so again in the future. So thanks for all your support. But how did the weekend treat you overall?
Yeah, I mean, likewise, Riley. It's been so much fun casting this tournament with you. I feel very similarly to what you were saying. A huge shout out to all these people behind the scenes, like Jeff, Anu. Without them, we really wouldn't get this high quality, stream that we're getting to share our love for Legacy and Magic with all these people. So huge shout out to them. Huge shout out to our sponsors. And just thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been so much fun to be able to bring this tournament to all y'all, and another shout out to TK for taking it down. Huge congrats. I hope you enjoy that lightning bolt.
Yes, indeed. Well done to all of our players, particularly those that made the top 8 and our champion TK. Also, thanks to Julian and Kai, our other co-casters here. It was great to have them take us through the earlier rounds of the Legacy tournament. They certainly set us up for success, so enormous appreciation. But the biggest thanks, of course, goes to you watching around the world, wherever you are. I'm not talking to any of the other viewers now. I'm just you. Yeah. I'm talking to. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing your weekend with us. Hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again at an event like this in the not too distant future. But that's it. That's all we've got to say for today. Thanks for being part of the success of Eternal Weekend this year. On behalf of the entire production and broadcast team, I'd like to thank you one last time for joining us. And on behalf of everyone else, I'll say good night, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.